back, everybody. A few months ago, I think it was around mid-February sometime, we planted this potato patch back here, and today it's time to do the harvest on it. Now, I probably should have done the harvest a couple of weeks ago. The plant started kind of wilting and turning kind of yellowish 2 or 3 weeks ago. In past years, I've waited a little bit later than that. I picked a few the other day, or I dug a few the other day, and there were some spots on them, and I certainly hope that that's not indicative of the rest of them. They were little tiny little rotten spots. They could be cut out, but you know, I'm afraid that more have got those on there. But we're just gonna have to dig it up and see what it looks like. I've got high hopes for this harvest this year, but we'll just have to see. There's 5 rows total of these potatoes. There's 2.5 rows of Yukon Golds or Golden Yukons and 2.5 rows of red potatoes. So yeah, there's nothing else to do. Let's go ahead and get started and see what's up under the ground here. So you can see there's quite a few weeds in here, and the reason for that is I didn't think there was a lot of point in weeding this potato patch out when it was almost time to harvest anyway. So I just left the weeds, and we're going to till the whole thing up, and you know, it's not that serious. So what I'm planning to do is I'm just going to go down through these rows and yank the potato plants out of the ground, and then I will come back. I really wish I had a pitchfork. I think a pitchfork would probably do the trick, just to get up under that soil and yank the soil up. But unfortunately, I don't have a pitchfork, so I'm just going to have to do the best I can with what I've got. So I'm just going to yank these plants up and throw the plant portion in the back of the truck there. And then I'm going to come back through, maybe with a shovel, maybe with my bare hands, whatever it takes, and dig those potatoes out. Alright guys, so this is what we've been waiting on for a few months now, I guess. Just to see what's in these potato mounds and see how we did. So one thing when you're picking these potatoes, you want to make sure that you have a good layer of dirt. So when you put these things up, you're not going to wash them for storage. You're just going to keep them in a cool, dark, dry place, and make sure there's a little layer of dirt on them, because that dirt inhibits bacteria growth, and that'll make your potatoes last literally for 6 or 8 months in storage, in proper storage. I feel like a kid again digging in this dirt like this. So guys, this is about half of a row right here, maybe just a little over, but about half of a row. And I'm finding that these are some really excellent potatoes. Every now and then I'll find one that's like this. It's got a little bit of rot on it already. Probably should have started harvesting these a week or two ago, but you know, it is what it is at this point. But what I'm going to do is when I put these up, I'll separate these and we'll make sure we eat these first, because those rotten spots can be cut out. They don't go, I mean, they go somewhat deep, but they don't go, you know, the whole potato is not rotten. If you take these spots out, you'll find that, see, down below it, you've got a good potato, and there's plenty of good food right there. I'm interested to see how much more of these will rot in storage, actually. But you see, there's a good potato in there, even with a rotten spot or two. But we'll just make sure to eat these first, so that, you know, we don't end up wasting a bunch of food. You know, I'm sure that there's a better way to do this somehow or another, but you know, this is kind of like a tasty scavenger hunt. Plus I get to play in the dirt, which I've always enjoyed doing. It's hard to find an excuse when you're an adult to play in the dirt. This is a good excuse. Much moisture right here. I wonder if this is where the shade in the afternoon starts hitting the garden. My garden is set up so that, I mean, this wasn't intentional, but it was kind of the way that it worked out. My garden is set up so that it starts getting sunlight, rotten spot, but it starts getting sunlight maybe around 9:30 in the morning, something like that, and it gets good solid sunlight all day long up until about 3 o'clock or so, and that's really convenient for me because I'm able to work in the garden. That's a rock. I don't care how much you boil that, it's not going to be any good. But which is convenient for me because that gives me a little bit of time in the morning to get out here before it gets too hot, and the garden, and I can also come out in the afternoon or the evening, and I don't have, you know, blazing sunlight. The plants end up getting plenty of sunlight for what they need, and but they don't get just an abusive amount of sunlight, because it gets hot where I live here. It gets really hot, and right now we're in a pretty bad drought. Well, I say it's pretty bad. It hadn't rained in probably a month or so. My pond level hasn't gone down any, fortunately, because that's how I water my garden. And that's a nice one. But it's pretty bad. We need some rain pretty desperately right now. So I've been pumping water on this garden every 2 or 3 days, probably 2 to 3 inches or so at a time, just to make sure my stuff doesn't burn up out here. But even with this wet soil, these potatoes are not rotten. I mean, it's about the same percentage as it was in that dry soil as far as the amount of rotten potatoes to good potatoes. So I wonder if it's something else. I wonder if there's some kind of a bug or an animal or something that's getting up under there, taking a little bite and making them rot. I have no idea. I'm gonna try something different here. Oof, see, what I'm scared of is scratching those potatoes. If I can get this top layer off and then maybe get up under them with the shovel. Ah, see right there, that potato, that's oh, I hate that. All right, so that did work, but it was really at a high cost because I was cutting the potatoes with a shovel and all this. So I'm just gonna have to suck it up, I guess. Not quite a potato. I hope that this is a good omen. That is a rain frog right there. So I ran out of time yesterday and I had to stop, but before I did, I got to the point where the golden Yukons, or Yukon golds, or whatever you want to call them, started, and I just kind of figured out where they were, and with the intention of starting on those today. So we're done with the red potatoes, and now we just got to dig out all the golden Yukons, and these are actually my favorites right here. Those red potatoes, they're really good, don't get me wrong, but they have got that one's rotten through and through. They have actually got a more of a dirt flavor, and I don't say that in a bad way. They just taste a lot more earthy than these potatoes. These golden Yukons are they have more of a richer and a buttery flavor, and I just prefer them to the red potatoes. I mean, they're both really good. I like these golden ones a lot. Well, that's a potato. So I ended up weighing what we got yesterday, and it was actually about 112 pounds, and that's actually kind of a conservative number. I think it probably a little bit more than 112 pounds. But I think I bought 10 pounds or 15 pounds of seed potatoes. I can't remember. So we've increased over tenfold, 5 to 10-fold already. So let's get this stuff on a scale. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to measure the weight of the bucket so I can subtract that from the total. It's probably isn't the most accurate scale ever, but it's going to work. So we put that on there and we get about 3 pounds. So we'll make sure we subtract 3 pounds from each total on these buckets. Here's the bucket of red potatoes. And that gives us 28 pounds. That gives us 28 pounds minus 3 makes 25 pounds. The Yukon Golds, or Golden Yukons, or whatever they are, turns out to be 32 pounds. So that's 29 pounds if you subtract the weight of the bucket. So 25 plus 29 makes 54. So in 10 gallons, that makes 5.4 pounds per gallon. And we got 37.5 pounds of potatoes total. I'm sorry, 37.5 gallons of potatoes total times 5.4 equals 202.5. So 202.5 pounds of potatoes. So I mentioned earlier that you can take these potatoes and you can store them in a some kind of a pantry or a cabinet or wherever you've got decent ventilation and it's dry, very low humidity, and very dark. Did some research last night, and the problem that we've got right now is that the pantry that I have stored these potatoes in the past, we're in the middle of a remodel and that pantry is gone, so I don't have access to all that space anymore. So we did some reading last night, and it turns out that you can actually put these potatoes in a cellar that is about 45 to 50 degrees, leave it there for 2 to 3 weeks, and that'll get a good thick skin on these potatoes, and then you can put them in a large box, like a potato box, for long-term storage, and they'll be fine. So unfortunately, of course, I don't have a cellar, so what I'm doing is, this is a refrigerator that's not being used right now. It's at a rental house that my parents own, and I've got it set so that it's somewhere between 45 to 50 degrees, and I'm going to stick them all in here. It's good in here. It's going to be good and cool. It's going to be the proper temperature. I'll leave them in here for 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll come get them out and store them for long-term use. So what I've got to do here, hope y'all can see this, but I've got to be sure to take out these that are, backlight's not helping me out, but I've got to make sure that I take the ones that have ant damage and put these to the side for quick use, because these won't be good for long-term storage. So this is what we ended up with. These in the refrigerator are, I guess, what you could call the firsts. These are the perfect potatoes with no spots, no blemishes, you know, in good shape, good size, that kind of thing. These are the ones that I'll leave in here for 2 to 3 weeks and come back and take out and put them in some kind of a potato box or something like that for longer term storage. But these are the best ones. I'm quite pleased with all of these. I'm about to run get some baking soda packets to put in this refrigerator just to make sure these potatoes continue to taste like potatoes, because I can't tell you how disappointed I would be if I came back and these tasted like an old refrigerator. But this refrigerator should be right around 45 to 50 degrees, and that should do a fine job mimicking a cellar. Over here we've got the seconds. These are the ones that had little spots on them. You can see in a few places here these little spots that just make these potatoes bad for long-term storage, but as you saw earlier in the video, they can be cut out and those potatoes can still be used. So that's a 5-gallon bucket right there, and then part of this bucket right here of seconds. Some of these are simply just small and I didn't want to waste space in the refrigerator, but they'll be good for mashed potatoes or just new potatoes. That's probably a couple of gallons right there in the bottom of that, or maybe a half of a 5-gallon bucket. So yeah, those are the seconds, which will be used first. This is the other blue container on the back of the truck, and it has a few in it as well. These are seconds, either too small or have little spots on them. I also had to throw out some of them, and there's just a handful that I chunked out because the spots on them were just too many spots on them, or maybe they were soft or rotten in some other way. But very few I had to really throw out, so most of these potatoes were in pretty good shape. So guys, that's all I've got for today's video. I really appreciate you watching. We had a really good potato harvest this year. The Lord chose to bless us with a very bountiful crop of potatoes, and I certainly hope that the rest of the garden follows suit. We're getting really close on the channel for the 100th video, and a while back we passed 50,000 subscribers, and I cannot tell y'all how much I appreciate and how thankful I am for each and every one of y'all who has subscribed to the channel, and everybody who is not subscribed to the channel who is watching these videos. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I hope that we can continue to do this for 100 more videos, because I get a lot of joy out of maintaining this channel and sharing what we're doing around here with y'all, and it has been a big blessing for our family. So I want to tell y'all how much I really appreciate everything that y'all have done for us. And I certainly hope I can continue to give y'all content that y'all enjoy watching. But that's all I've got for this one. I will see y'all next time. And yeah, that's all I got. See y'all next time.